Imagine living in a quiet neighborhood. Everything seems normal. The neighbor smiles at you in the morning, dresses up as a clown at children's parties, helps the elderly, and provides job opportunities for young people. But what you don't know, under the floor of his house, a few meters from where your children played, there was a secret cemetery. A cemetery in which more than 30 young men were buried after he lured them, tied them up, strangled them, and buried them with his own hands. This is not a fairy tale. Rather, it is the cold, dark truth. Today, we are faced with one of the most horrific stories in the history of crime. The story of the man who made people laugh while dressed as a clown, but was in the shadows smiling as he was killed. This is the full story of John Wayne Gacy, or, as the world later knew him, the murderous clown. John Wayne Gacy, the clown who buried his victims under his house. A true story told with all the details and psychological shadows. Childhood in the shadow of violence. John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17, 1942 in Chicago to a family of Polish descent. His father, John Sr., was a tough man, an airline mechanic who believed that masculinity meant control and violence. His mother, Mary, was kind-hearted but weak in the face of her husband's brutality. From his early years, John lived in constant fear of his father's screams, who did not hesitate to scold or slap him for the most trivial reasons. He always described him as a coward, feminine, and considered him disrespectful, especially when he noticed that his son did not like sports, but rather preferred to sit in the kitchen and help his mother prepare food. While the children were running in the parks, John was suffering from a heart condition that required him to rest and prevented him from playing with them. This made him a target for bullying at school and created within him a deep sense of loneliness and rejection. But he was a smart kid, good at acting and playing with masks. It is a skill that he will later use in terrifying ways. The young man who wants to be loved. In his youth, John tried in every way to prove to his father that he was successful. He joined the Democratic Party, was involved in charity work, and was trying to show people that he was a kind and responsible person. He moved to Iowa and married a girl named Marilyn Myers, the daughter of a famous restaurant chain owner, and lived a life that seemed perfect. He became a branch manager and had 2 children. In 1964, he was named Man of the Year in his district. But he was hiding a dark secret. John began luring teenagers to work in his restaurant, then sexually harassing them. It didn't take long for someone to complain about it. In 1968, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison after being convicted of sodomy and attempted sexual assault of a minor. His wife asked for a divorce, took the children, and stayed away from him forever. But he did not stay in prison long. After only 18 months, he was released for good behavior. The mask smiles, but underneath it is a monster. After his release from prison, he returned to Chicago and began rebuilding his social life. He bought a house in Norwood Park, a quiet and upscale neighborhood. He set up his own small contracting company, employing young men and promising them money and training. He dressed as a clown at children's charity parties and created a character he called Bogo the Clown. He used to say, "A clown can do things that no one else is allowed to do." But not only was he making the children happy, but he began to hide a ruthless monster inside him. The beginning of the murder series, 1972 to 1978. The murders began in silence. His first victim was in 1972, a young man named Tim McCoy, whom he met at a bus station. He invited him home, then, after a short relationship, stabbed him to death and buried him under his house. As the years passed, Gacy's pattern began to recur. He lures his victims off the street or employs them in his company.
promises them job or shelter opportunities. He convinces them to play the clown trick, where he puts handcuffs on his hands, then asks them to try it. Once they are shackled, he turns into a demon. He strangles them with a rope knot, sexually assaults them, and then buries them under the floor of his house in secret corners. The house looked ordinary from the outside, but underground there was a network of basements and secret bunkers.
Body box. Jesse was digging under his house with his own hands, creating a secret tomb of small rooms. More than 26 victims were buried there, and bodies were transported at night in plastic bags or cut to make them easier to bury. On hot days, the smell of death spread throughout the house. The neighbors complained about the smell, but he would tell them, "The plumbing is old. I have a dead mouse under the floor." As he continued to kill, no one suspected him. He still participated in neighborhood events, appeared smiling in photos, organized parties, and dealt with the police comfortably. He was living a double life in every sense of the word. Fatal mistake. In December 1978, a young man named Robert Best disappeared after going to a job interview with Jesse's company. The police went to ask him. Jesse looked as cheerful as ever and said he knew nothing. But investigations are beginning to uncover lies. The police entered his house for a first visit and found nothing. But on a later visit, one of the officers smelled a strange odor coming from the underground openings. The police requested a comprehensive search warrant. One night, under pressure, Jesse told investigators over dinner, "You think I'm a murderer? Yes. Corpses in the house. They're all there. Take me." House of Horrors. When the police entered the house, they started removing the floors. What they found was uglier than they imagined. Decomposed bodies wrapped in bags. Bones everywhere. Traces of ropes around the necks of the victims. Signs that some of them were alive when his burial began. 29 bodies were removed from the house, and others were recovered from the River des Plaines. Number of confirmed victims, 33 young men and boys. Trial and end. Jesse tried to claim insanity, but the evidence was overwhelming. During the trial, he appeared calm and at times laughed or drew colorful pictures of clowns. In 1980, he was convicted of 33 murders and sentenced to death. He remained in prison for more than 14 years, painting paintings that were sold to collectors of the art of serial killers. On May 10, 1994, he was executed. Who was John Wayne Gacy really? John Wayne Gacy wasn't just a serial killer. It was a symbol of disguised horror, of a society that did not see crimes under a smile, of evil that could laugh and dress up as a clown. His story is told today as a warning. Never trust a mask. He might hide an entire cemetery underneath. John Wayne Gacy lived a double life with frightening ingenuity. A beloved clown by day and a murderous devil by night. He did not only wear the clown mask at parties, but he also wore the mask of a good person in an entire life in which he deceived society, deceived the law, and deceived even his victims. Behind his smile, there were corpses, and behind his laugh, there was an unaudible groan. More than 30 young men did not return home, had no dreams, did not complete their lives, just because they trusted the wrong man. Jesse wasn't a super monster. Rather, he was a human being like any other human being. That's what makes his story really scary. Evil may not come to you in shadow or darkness. He might even come to you smiling, dressed as a clown, and say, "Do you want to work?" That's how the story ends, but it is unforgettable. Because when we forget to pay attention to the shadows behind faces, we give the monster another chance to wear a new mask.